the purpose of my work is to understand the factors that make such reasoning more likely to occur. Now, one might ask, what does this have to do with wisdom? In fact, when I gave a version of this talk about 9 months ago, that was in fact the question that was put to me. And so anticipating that, I wanted to begin by noting that insofar as particular principles embody wisdom, then applying them in an explicitly principled fashion promotes wisdom. Also, insofar as it is beneficial to be able to articulate accurate justifications for one's judgments, decisions, and actions, then being aware of the principles that actually drive one's judgments facilitates that. And my model describes 4 such conditions or 4 such factors. And I'll describe them using the example of an employer who's hiring an employee and who claims that he or she is basing judgments on the principle of merit. As I indicated, the big question motivating my work is what conditions must hold in order for explicit principled reasoning to occur. I'm already regretting the use of the term conditions. I don't want to imply that explicit principled reasoning is all or nothing. Rather, what I mean is I'm describing a set of factors whose presence makes explicit principled reasoning more likely to occur, and to occur to a greater extent. The focus of the studies that I'll be describing today is definition. I'm going to be discussing 2 experiments, time permitting. And one experiment is ongoing, the other experiment is largely complete. Both have the same purpose, which is to focus on a set of instances in which it seems likely that individuals would have well-defined principles a priori, and thus might reason in a manner that is consistent with their principles. The first experiment focuses on expertise, and the question is whether expertise might be a source of better articulated definitions of principle, and as a consequence, will experts' judgments conform to their principles more so than novices? Experiment 1, which is ongoing, involves a sample of 32 legal experts. That breaks down in terms of attorneys, judges, just 6 law professors, and law students. And all of these individuals have completed an online survey-based experiment. Participants in all conditions, you're not going to have time to read all of this, so don't even try. The take-home point is that everyone reads about a guy named John. John engages in embezzlement. Everyone reads that. Half the participants, though, also read that there are strong indications that the money being funneled is being funneled to offshore betting accounts, suggesting high crime severity. The remaining participants read that the money is being sent overseas to help workers who are being paid wages below the cost of living. So it's kind of a Robin Hood scenario, low crime severity. And these materials, by the way, are used by permission of Kevin Carlsmith, taken from some of the experiments that he's run. So crime severity is manipulated. Also, detection likelihood is manipulated. Half the participants read that crimes of this sort are very easy to detect. Others read that crimes of this sort are very hard to detect. So the design is a 2x2, where one factor is crime severity, the other factor is detection likelihood. So 4 groups. So not a lot of statistical power, obviously, dividing 32 individuals in a between subject design across 4 groups. So keep that in mind. And I should also note that I won't be talking anymore about the crime severity manipulation, because thus far the manipulation checks indicate that this variable is not being manipulated effectively with this sample. But detection likelihood is. There was a significant, even with just 32 participants, there was a significant need for cognition by detection likelihood interaction that is of this form. So among the high need for cognition individuals, one sees the pattern that is characteristic of the application of deterrence theory as described by Bentham. When detection likelihood is lower, punishment is higher, is more severe than when detection likelihood is low. I'm sorry, when detection likelihood is high, whereas low-need cog individuals tend to show the opposite. This is true on the sentence recommendation measure. Similar pattern emerges on the severity measure as well. What if we ask individuals to put themselves in the shoes of a criminal? Might that prompt them to consider factors such as detection likelihood that would be relevant to their decision to commit a crime or not? To address that, as I said, 133 undergraduates were asked to complete an online survey-based experiment. Detection likelihood was manipulated, and participants were asked to either adopt the role of a criminal. So all participants read about a robbery. They either read the robbery scenario from the perspective of the criminal who was considering the crime, or the eventual victim of the crime, or they simply read from a third-party perspective. I'll simply point out that the prediction was an interaction between role and detection likelihood, such that in the criminal condition and not the others, we would see that participants would recommend punishment more severely when detection likelihood was low than high. There is an interaction, but as you can see, that's not the form.